Jerry Jones, as well. Look forward to visiting with you too, Joe and Troy, about this big victory. For those of you watching on ABC, your late local news is next. We will see you over on ESPN in 90 seconds. He led tonight. I'm told he'll join us tonight. Very interested in his perspective on what it was like to lead his team against Pete Carroll, whose team has lost some close games. Tonight was not one of them, as the Cowboys honor Marshawn Kneeland, their fallen teammate, who passed away after their last game, which was a Monday night game as well. Dak Prescott played tremendous football tonight. You heard him if you were watching Monday Night Countdown talk about our brotherhood's been tested, but he comes out and not one, not two, but 3 touchdown passes in the first half. And Dallas grabs a big lead, and they cruise in the second half. Lamb, Ferguson, and Pickens, who had an enormous first half himself, helped lead a significant lead that, again, was nursed to the finish line. It's a 33-16 win for Dallas. We visit with Joe and Troy after every game, and Joe, your wife Michelle had a beautiful piece before the game about this Dallas team dealing with loss, trying to figure out how to channel its best efforts and energies. And I don't think any of us really knew what we would see from them, but it was focused, it was complete, and it was, I think, a compelling case that they could be a team to be keep an eye on here down the stretch. What impressed you about what they did?
Yeah, I agree with that. Troy mentioned it early that he thought they would be spirited and come into this ball game with a full head of steam and a lot of pep, and they go 3 and out, then they get a fumble, and it's like, man, what is this night going to bring for the Dallas Cowboys? Is it going to be more of the same? And then from that moment on, as you just went through the highlights, I mean, they just put the pedal down, and it was a full team effort. I think that's the biggest part, is I think the defense looked different than it did their last game where we were there on Monday night with the faces that are back and the new faces that are brought in. Offense did what it's done when they've won ball games, put up points, and even the special teams, which they've always got an advantage with Brandon Aubrey. So it was just a full team win at the end of a long 10-day stretch.
Hey, Joe, you made the point on the broadcast. I believe the correct number is 6 different faces who were on the field on the defensive side in this game that were not in that Arizona game. And Troy, we made the point on Countdown just how bad they've been defensive ranking-wise. You add those pieces, even though the schedule does ramp up significantly, many of those games are at home. And I don't think you have to squint too hard to see that maybe they could sneak in and on the back end of that NFC playoff picture. Does that seem reasonable to you?
Reasonable might be a stretch right now, but I do think that the Raiders obviously have been struggling on offense.
No doubt.
I mean, so this was not a good test. But with that said, they're better on defense. I mean, you put Quinnen Williams on your defense, you're going to be better. And then with Logan Wilson and the other DeMarvion Overshown, he's going to be getting healthier again as he moves through and getting in better playing shape. All of that. This defense is, if they just get to the middle of the pack, they can go out and they can compete against Philadelphia and Kansas City and Detroit in those games, regardless of where they're being played at. So, I mean, the offense looked good tonight. Everything did. The real tests are ahead of them, as we know. Yep. But they could certainly get on a run. I mean, you got to look at they got to get to 10 wins is what you've got to look at, and they don't have any margin for error. So this was a game they obviously had to win, and they got to win next week against Philadelphia.
I wasn't being reasonable, but I think that if they're better on defense just a bit, then it gives their offense a chance to make them competitive moving down the road. We'll be moving down the road to San Francisco. We'll look forward to talking with you there next week. Joe, you've known this guy forever. Is there any chance we can talk him into hanging out with us? Just getting goofy.
I've been trying.
Come on.
There's a chance. There's a chance.
Really?
There's a chance. I mean, there's a chance.
Hangover, wake up with like a tiger walking around in your suite.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a chance. There's a chance.
Very small. Maybe like the Cowboys playoff hopes. Very small chance. All right, boys.
Reasonable.
All right. Unreasonable. Travel safe wherever you guys can go. We'll talk to you guys, though.
See you,
Joe
Scott.
and Troy on the call tonight. They'll be in San Francisco. A good one next week. It's the Panthers and the Niners. This one, the Raiders have been on the struggle bus. You get a lineup. You get a lineup.
I was trying to get that joint in straight across. But I couldn't find him, though, so I had to just go to my guy.
Understood.
Boy.
You see a lot of stuff in Vegas. I'll just leave it there. Troy Aikman, the Hall of Famer and Super Bowl champion 3 times, is our guest.
And my best friend. I'm so sick of y'all leaving that off in the introduction, bro. I'm telling you right
my
now, I'm not gonna
apologies
stand
for
for it.
failing to lead with that. Forget the gold jacket, forget the rings, swag special.
There you
You're
go.
talking about Dallas and the history and the greatness of these organizations. My best friend is a big part of that.
That is a fact.
All right, go ahead, Scott. I'm sorry for interrupting.
And I will. And you'll forgive me, Troy, for making a serious left turn, but we started our show with the understandable tragedy that Dallas that has endured since the last time that they played. Marshawn Kneeland is no longer here. And you mentioned last week, and I thought it was a great point, that the fact that they didn't have a game provided them with an opportunity to agree without having to try to play. But now you got to strap the pads on and try to go play. I don't know how you do that, but what do you feel the Cowboy team that we see tonight will do in terms of honoring their loss?
Yeah, I fully expect them to come out and play with a great deal of emotion in order to honor his memory. And by all accounts, Brian Schottenheimer and the entire organization, the Jones family as well, handled everything exceptionally well. And I do think that bye week allowed them to grieve and really kind of ease back into trying to get back out onto the practice field. But that's where, once you get out onto the practice field, as these guys know, that's when your life tends to get back to some normalcy.
Yeah.
And so that's what will happen here tonight, but I fully expect this team to play with a lot of emotion.
Troy, you mentioned Brian Schottenheimer and some of his leadership. I felt it's been amazing throughout the season, especially the last 2 weeks. But it's about football tonight. Dak Prescott was playing at an MVP early on in the season as an MVP level, but the last 2 weeks he struggled a bit. What can Brian Schottenheimer do to get Dak Prescott back going and in turn this offense?
Well, I think, and I at least thought coming into the season, knowing who Brian Schottenheimer's father is, and Marty Schottenheimer and Marty Ball, and Brian talked about wanting to run the football, and that's kind of in his DNA. I thought that we would see more of the run game than we've seen from Dallas. There's reasons why we haven't. They lost Miles Sanders. The offensive line, hasn't been quite as good. They've gotten behind in games. I do think we're going to see more of it tonight, even though the Raiders have been pretty good in that department. But I think that look at the last 2 games. It's one thing to go to Denver and not play well offensively. It's another thing at home against a pretty decent Arizona defense, but they've been putting up 40 points at home. I think it'll look different tonight. The offensive line's got to be better than what they've shown the last 2 weeks.
Go ahead, JK.
Oh, all right.
I made the introduction. I'm still thinking about my question.
Last time we were together on Monday, we were doing another Dallas Cowboys game. The last Cowboys game we were on Monday night doing that. And Jerry had alluded to this trade that was going down.
Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden, we find out after the game that it's Quentin Williams is the big name dropping. What do you think of the move? Do you think this accelerates the window for Dallas?
Well, I love Quentin Williams, the player. I mean, he's terrific, and he's definitely going to help them. And I like the fact that DeMarvion Overshown is back in the lineup.
What a player.
There's some things that are happening defensively. They could have 5-6 different players from when the last time we saw him on that side of the ball. Is it going to be enough? I mean, I'm as excited as anybody to see exactly what they look like. But it does help them. It helps them in the run defense. They'll get some inside pressure, of course. He's been playing the run as well as anybody in football this year, and I think it'll open up some other opportunities. Will they play more 5 down, not to get too technical? Do they want to get Kenny Clark and Quentin Williams and OC on the field together? If they do, I would expect then the Raiders to open it up and start throwing the football. But this is going to look different defensively than what we've seen in recent games.
We've reached the part of the year, Troy, where unfortunately, like when the schedule comes out, we don't know what this will be. But it's a game that involves a Raider team that's 2-7, and they've lost some close ones. And that's not loser talk; it's the truth. They just haven't figured out how to win some games that might frame this one differently. And talking to a guy like Pete Carroll, who's a proud guy, who's won a ton, how is he kind of processing what they are relative to what he thought they could be?
I don't think he's taking it real well.
Good, right?
Because he's a winner.
Yeah.
And even when you go back to his first year in Seattle, they finished 7-9, but they won the division in a bad division. He's not in a bad division here. And for all practical purposes, they're eliminated. And I think that's probably the frustrating part. But but you know Pete, he's optimistic. It's all about tonight. You could not talk to him and believe that they're a 2-7 football team. I mean, they feel that they're still in it. That's part of his greatness. It's why he's been as good and